At 2:05, as we get cranked up here on a Tuesday that just is depressing with all the violence and the craziness in the news. And it's one of those things where you see news and patterns like this, and then you use that or you understand that against the backdrop of the holidays and what is supposed to be, as many people have pointed out today with some of the international news, supposed to be this joyous time of the year where we have peace and you wish that on people. And it's hard enough as it is with everybody going through just life, just things in life that get you all bummy and down. But then to turn around and read about all this sequence of violence in the news, it's like as a society, almost like a world, it just feels like we're coming unglued. Let's start here at home with the most recent story, one that we've got two tragedies connected to the city of Birmingham, all playing out in real time in front of our TV screens this afternoon. First up, we've got the story about this Christina Chambers, and I had only heard about this just a short time ago. Early this morning, we had heard there was a house over in Hoover. There'd been a possible murder suicide, and and usually I'm from the old school. When you have domestic violence cases like this, we just didn't cover them. We would literally go out. I don't know how many times we get in the news car. There'd been a reported murder. We'd travel over to the house and wait around for the police to determine what's going on. But if it was a domestic case and there was no threat to the community, this wasn't something that was of wider interest. We just did not cover it. We also didn't cover fake, bomb threats to schools. There was a line there because you didn't want to encourage the crazy. And in the case of a domestic, it's hard to know what's going on. So we would call them a domestic. How many times in my reporting career did I pick the two-way radio up to talk back to the station? That's what we used back in those days. And I'd radio back to the station and go, no, it's a domestic. And we'd move on to the next thing. We didn't cover suicides. We just didn't. But today in the news alone, we've got two stories I guess would be classified domestic, but because of the high-profile nature of the people involved, it is of great interest to the community and a tragedy on top of that. Two very different kind of stories that we know of at the moment, but here's the story about if some of you knew Christina Chambers. I did not personally know her, and I don't watch a lot of local television, so I wasn't aware much of her career. But she at one point was a sports anchor at WBRC television, where I used to work as well. And then I think she had moved over to Thompson High School and had gotten into education, was running a communications department over there. And through that, she was also doing some work. She worked with our colleague, Damian Mitchell, on the Sanford football broadcast. So Damian had a very touching post about her professionalism. But so what we know at this hour is this morning at about 9:30, the police responded to the discovery of a man and a woman unresponsive inside their home. There was a 3-year-old child just walking around on the scene, and that's being reported that these were gun related and that it was a quote murder suicide. Now we don't know at present, or I don't know at present, and maybe we'll get some updates later from the Hoover police, who was the murderer and who was the suicide. You never know how these things play out. But what a crazy tragedy, both for the city of Hoover, but because Christina was well known to TV viewers and sports fans, and even a lot of my colleagues. And we've got so many colleagues that knew her well, and I'm seeing a lot of them respond to her death. Apparently, she was a very delightful person and a total pro at what she did. Have you heard about this story yet?
I did hear about the story, and Orlando actually showed me because I saw it in passing
Yeah.
as I was doing some other stuff, and I didn't really actually read the story. But man, it's such a tragedy,
Mm.
such a tragedy.
And so young, and then there's the child. I
Yeah.
don't know much about the family, of course, but to for people to get in the heat of passion in some kind of domestic argument, and then leave a child to just be there on the scene, and now they're gone. Both of them are gone. That child will have to be raised by somebody else. It's just that's a tough one today. And again, with the backdrop of the holidays, it just makes you appreciate the good things in life, I suppose. And then, of course, we got the Rob Reiner story, which is, would by any other standard, the reason I started with that whole diatribe about domestic violence. That's a family dispute that spilled over into, and I know there's all this reporting on drug addiction and homelessness. This kid was messed up, but he kills his parents apparently, and they were supposed to have a hearing for him today. They put that off because of his mental health. He's in some hospital. They say he's not, he's not competent at this point to stand for the accusations for the arraignment or whatever. And I don't even know if formal charges have been issued yet, but they were supposed to be a court appearance today. They've had to delay that. We'll see if they ever get around to that, and we'll update. That case becomes voyeuristic, partly because Rob Reiner was just an Hollywood icon, and then, of course, the politics of it. I'm less interested in the politics of it, only because Rob Reiner made some of the best movies of my lifetime. He just did. I know he was a left-wing moonbat, and he had some crazy ideas, and he hated Trump, but I don't care. Spinal Tap's one of the funniest movies ever made. And then you get the other movies he was in. Princess Bride, I must have seen it 100 times.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
What a classic story.
Yeah.
That was back when we could all laugh again. Maybe that's what society needs right now, to people to turn off all the craziness and turn off all your devices and just laugh again.
Yeah, or even watching All in the Family,
I know it. Yeah, when he was Meathead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I grew up with Meathead, man.
Yeah.
My parents loved that show, and I'd be sitting around, I didn't even understand half the jokes. Why Meathead was a meathead, but he was a meathead.
Right. Norman
Lear and all that. And then the other careers that were part of that touched people's lives. So people have a deep interest in this story. And Harry Met Sally, I could go through his whole resume, and I'm sure plenty of people have done that today. And then not to connect all of that, but geographically to connect us to this unmitigated tragedy coming out of Brown University. Now, I got to travel this weekend. I had a delightful weekend with my new grandson and getting to go see my boy and his wife in New York City. And we took Jessica and her young daughter along for her first New Year's New York trip. So it was a big time all the way around. We had a good time, made some good memories this weekend. But in the midst of all that, usually if I'm off work, I try to unplug. I could not do it over the last 4 or 5 days just because the headlines kept coming and you needed to keep abreast of it. Now, Rhode Island's not that far, Brown University, not that far from the New York area. So you had a lot of input. I could hear people talking about it wherever I'd go. And, as they'd pass on the street in restaurants, you kind of hear a vague hum about this crazy story that night that it started unfolding at Brown University. And what looked like you never know about these school-related shootings, but then this has got a peculiarity about it that just shocks the conscience. Now, by now we know what connects that story to us is Ella Cook is from Mountain Brook and was attending this Ivy League school, and apparently very vibrant and outspoken, and two, a tinge of politics on this one because she was the vice president of a Republican club there at Brown University, a liberal, elite, very liberal school. About 8% of the school's student body considers themselves Republican and or, to the right of the center, very small. She would be a minority. And it was pretty brave to go through any academic institution nowadays and have traditional viewpoints. But for her to do so and put her name on it in this world where there's so much violence and vitriol targeted toward people that believe that way, especially in those communities, what a tragedy. Now, you've got some that believe she was targeted because of that, and that's an element in this story. The truth is we don't know that yet. What we don't know, the reason we don't know that yet is these are the most fumbling and bumbling police I have seen in a high-profile case in years. And anybody that's listened to this show for any period of time knows I give a lot of space to prosecutors and investigators in moments like this because they have a difficult job of not only catching a killer but making a case, and that's a big deal, doing the right thing. But they fumbled this thing from the beginning. And back to the politics of it, you get this sense watching the news conferences this weekend that they're holding back on information they know for, I believe, culturally political reasons. And I think I've got good reason to believe that. They don't want the identity of the shooter, the motivation of the shooter, or any of that out there until they get message containment, and they haven't caught him. So in their rush to catch somebody, they detained a dude. His name gets out there. He's smeared all over the place. He looked approximately like the guy. The only thing they had in common was they were all wearing black. And I will tell you, having just returned from snow-laden New York City, everybody in the damn city's wearing black. They all wear black. They all wear black. They wear multiple layers. Everybody looks exactly the same out on the street.
You know, it's got to the point where I have like all black outfits, and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm gonna wear it to work. And then I'm like, no, I don't think I need to do that. Like, you know, you have to be conscious of like what you wear now.
I guess
I don't want to be accused of doing something, you know.
Well, I'm just saying, in the identity, this is why the Jussie Smollett story blew up on me immediately. This dude was wearing all black with a big parka over his head. You wouldn't have recognized. Nobody would have recognized him to target him. His story was done in 10-degree weather. And it's the same thing here as far as trying to find a suspect. They put this weak surveillance video out, and this dude looks like everybody else that's out on the street. Now there's an enhanced picture of him, and I'll try to describe it to you. He's got on a mask. It looks like one of those COVID surgical type masks. Of course, it was cold, so maybe he's just keeping his face warm. Probably concealing his identity. Got a toboggan. He's got a sort of a hoodie kind of pulled up. But now we see the jacket is a little bit more two-toned, and that's a little bit of a different look than we saw before. It's got kind of a brown patch on the bottom, or brownish gray, and then it's black across the shoulders, and that might be a clue. At some point, you see him with a cross-body bag. There's new surveillance where he seems to be casing the university prior to the shooting. Now, that could mean one of two things. He's looking for a person, or he's looking for an opportunity. He's looking at the names of the buildings. You can see him doing that. So he may have gone there with an intent. He was looking for a specific building in a specific place, maybe a specific person. But, of course, he shot several people and killed two, and one of those was our own Ella Cook from the Mountain Brook area. And what a tragedy for that family. There's audio, and maybe we'll play it for you later, from an interview one of her close friends from college did today on Fox. It was just riveting. And I'll try to tell you what she said, and later you can hear it in her own words. But her friend, Phoebe Payas, I guess is how you would pronounce her name, described that night. Somehow they were close enough that they could track each other's phones. A lot of kids do that now. They know where each other are, and they could say, hey, come on over, whatever. And her friends that had her tracking information they knew the building she was in. They heard the story about the shooting, and they were looking for her phone location, and the phone wasn't moving. And it just broke my heart to hear this young lady say, and the thing they were hoping when her phone wasn't moving is that maybe she dropped it and got out of there. But then, of course, they would find out later that she did not. Clearly, she touched a lot of people in her short time there on that campus. And we'll let you know if the authorities come up with anything else this afternoon. I will say the reporters, usually I'm patient with the police and I'm upset with the silly questions asked by the reporters. But some of the local reporters are being very aggressive with the university leadership, the mayor, and the police about their lack of transparency, and they're changing stories, and they're just obtuseness. It seems implausible that they would have or could. I mean, they have this little information to go on at this point. They need the public's help. It's clear. The FBI is now involved, and they're fanned out around the campus. You're also talking about trying to track this guy from a snow-laden crime scene. In some cases, that's helpful, and I'll tell you why. Because it wasn't a lot of snow on Saturday night. It came in over Saturday night. Again, having been up there, we watched it roll in. They were close enough by, and they had very similar weather. The bulk of it was in the very early morning hours of Saturday night into Sunday. And as you can see from the video, there's no snow on the ground at the time. So the snow can either conceal evidence, because if he drops something, threw down, something like, I don't know, throw down a cigarette, drop something he's eating, like the guy that shot the United Healthcare CEO, that gets covered up with snow. Now they got to be careful to not disturb that, but also find evidence that just got covered up overnight with the snowfall. So now to go back and backtrack after they arrested the wrong person to look for footprints or look for other clues, they've got this weather situation to deal with. And then everything froze over, so it's a tough crime scene. And I don't know how cross-contaminated it got with all these different kids going in different directions and police getting the wrong person. Here's my final point. In that scenario, what I worry about is that you remember when just a few minutes ago I said they've got to make an arrest, but they've got to make a conviction. The mistakes these police are making right now, it seems, could lead to a problem with conviction down the road, where evidence gets tainted, the chain of custody is thrown off. Anytime you go out and basically detain and dang near publicly announce the conviction the way they did of another person, and then you have to change your whole story. So it'd be very difficult for a prosecutor to make this case if they can find this person. Then there's the other element, the ongoing danger to the whole community up there, because they got a person that's willing to walk into a building and shoot up a building, and we don't know where the person is or where they came from, how they got there, if they've got a connection to the school, any of this stuff. I hope they can, for the peace of mind of the campus, at least get that out. I was listening to a person today do a security review about the campus itself, and it looks like here's a campus who was running $46 million in the hole, and they did not have adequate security by any measure. They didn't have card readers, proper cameras. They can't even admit whether they use facial recognition, which would be helpful in some ways with this whole case. So here's a campus in the world that we live in now that had its resources. By the way, the biggest concern they had last year was fighting off the attempts to get rid of DEI, spending their money on those priorities. And you can read it on their faces. There's something about this case they're trying to conceal so they can get their crap together rather than doing their jobs, securing public safety, in advance of this, securing the buildings, having adequate cameras, an adequate alert system. None of that happened. None of that went off on that campus the right way. Now they got a killer on the loose, and they fumbled the investigation. They've confused the public. The kids are still exposed. Everybody's exposed till they catch this person. They may have botched the prosecution. And why? Because their priorities are wrong. These people did not put public safety ahead of everything else. And this is their damn job. Their job is not to socially engineer society. Their job is to teach these kids and keep them safe. So I could rant on that forever. And I hadn't even gotten to what happened in Australia and the Syrian attack this weekend and other things that are in the news. We'll take them one by one. We'll update them one by one. We'll take your calls and information on them one by one as well. And who knows what will develop during the course of the next few hours, as we'll be here picking them up and putting them down. That's what we do. All right. Michelson Laser Vision bringing you the show tonight. First sponsor out of the chute. And what a great sponsor they've been for me all these years. I think I'm on my 7th year now of LASIK. Still 2015. Wouldn't trade it for anything. Love being able to see all the time. Especially, I always think about it when I travel, like being able to look out over that skyline this weekend and see all the sights and wonders of the things you see when you travel. And doing that with your own eyes through the snow. I remember when I had glasses and it would snow on my glasses and I was constantly couldn't even see where I was going, but I had to have my glasses. But it would hit my glasses like a windshield, and I needed little windshield wipers. When you're seeing through your own eyes, you see a whole lot clearer, and the world's a lot more beautiful. So look into it. In fact, treat somebody you love to the gift of sight by letting them get an appointment to see if they're eligible, and if so, sign up. There is not a more advanced practice in the country, and they were the original pioneers of the laser, Dr. Mark Michelson, and Jennifer's grown up to be an excellent surgeon, just like her father, and they're both there taking 2 generations taking care of people in this practice. This is who you can trust. It's MichelsonLaserVision.com, MichelsonLaserVision.com. All right, there we go. A little Christmas music for you. My son and I did watch some Die Hard
Oh, yippee
in New York.
ki
We were all the kid went to sleep, all the ladies were busy, and I said, you know what? Let's watch Die Hard.
yay!
And he made a good point. He said it's just as much a Christmas movie as Home Alone.
Yeah,
I thought to myself, yes, it is.
it is.
It absolutely is.
It was shot around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they both had to fight criminals.
Right, they had to fight bad guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, I would dare say, in light of the holiday, John McClane was more of a savior than the kid. But they don't have to compete. They're just both set at Christmas. So
Right.
everybody shut up.
Both of their families didn't like him. You know, because he was going through a divorce.
True, and the other kid got left. They didn't even know who he was. Kids nowadays don't understand that movie.
Boy.
Why didn't they just call him on his cell phone?
I really should FaceTime
They
him.
weren't tracking him? Nope. Our parents hated us.
Mm.
It was a different generation. But we survived, yet it's a survival story.
I mean, come on now. I mean, that just got me thinking about it. You know, I remember growing up, like, we go out, play, had no way of getting in contact with our parents at all. None. Yeah, we had, like, pay phones, but, you didn't know your house number, really. You know what I'm saying? You were just hoping that you made it back to your location. He left a whole kid there, went on vacation.
An entire child.
Didn't even
Yes.
ask about him. Didn't even care. Didn't even like they go on a plane. Went all the way up to New York. Like didn't even think about the brother. They didn't care.
And they were not even distracted with social media either.
No.
Not like mom was dialed out on her phone and forgot about everybody around her.
Yeah.
They just left him.
She was on the plane sleep. That's what she
Straight up
realized.
neglect, man.
And then when the cops got over there, oh yeah, you're good. It's fine. You just left your kid by himself, underage. It's all good. Now
We made it into a charming movie.
mhm.
An abandonment of a child.
Now he's scarred for life.
I noticed that the authorities in Los Angeles have a press briefing set up. I'm looking at a camera on a lectern with the backdrop. Apparently, they're going to walk out and probably say something about this Rob Reiner thing. We may go to that for a minute. So there's so much interest in that case. And anything else that pops up, we're on it. Y'all, Lonnie's Furniture Company bringing you the show tonight. I'll tell you more about them in a minute. I don't even have enough time to get into that whole story because we got to go to the break. We'll do that on the other side. Stay tuned. All right, y'all, 235 Leland Live, Tuck 995, Ox Foundation Solutions. Next up here on the show, you know, in the summer when we talk about encapsulation, and this company does it all. They do full whole house leveling, you know, minor cracks and shifts that can happen. Sometimes your whole house starts moving. Then, of course, all kind of water removal. When you get water intrusion, you got to keep it out. They'll handle all those kind of services. They're just a complete company, 360 degrees of everything. I added 5 degrees to that. But the encapsulation is something that I think about or traditionally thought about as a moisture barrier. But in addition to that, it's a thermal barrier, which means it can help keep that cold air out of your house. And when they do it right, even in your crawl space, protects those pipes and all that infrastructure underneath your house. It's really important to do that if you have a crawl space, no matter the age of your house. It's just something that's should be default nowadays in home construction, but it isn't. But it really does protect your home and keeps a lot of trouble out of your house, critters included. Y'all, it's oxstrong.com. I need some more caffeine, AJ. I'm not quite ready today. Oxstrong.com is their website. Y'all get them over there. These are the pros, the complete company. And of course, if they run into anything else, they can handle that too, because they do it all. And they've been with us for years, been helping people for years with foundation issues. Oxstrong.com. Well, before I go back to some of the other issues that are in the news today, do you have the soundbite, AJ, that I just sent you? There's a reporter by the name of Mark Halperin. Y'all have heard of him over the years. I think maybe he's still with the New York Times, but he's hit or miss with some of his scoops. He's like a college kicker. He either kicks that thing or he misses and when he misses big. So he's been wrong a lot, but he's good at developing sources and checking around. And when it comes to Ella Cook of our community of Birmingham and or Mountain Brook, his sources are telling him, indeed, she was absolutely targeted for her beliefs for some reason. Let's just listen to what he had to say.
The Brown one's a little complicated because I don't know that any news organization has reported this, but I've been besieged with messages from people who are really concerned about the report. And again, I believe in being transparent here. If I were editing the New York Times, I don't think I'd put it in the paper. But people are telling me that the family of Ella Cook, the Alabama young woman who was a sophomore, has been told that she was the target of what happened at Brown. I have no idea whether that's true. There's other theories about why the person did what they did, but now that we don't know who the assailant is, it's going to be harder to say. But if it's true that she was targeted, that's a big story because she was one of the most visible conservatives on that campus. Don't know that it's true, but probably most of you don't even know that that's being alleged because you'd have to follow certain accounts on X or have sources, as I do, who are telling me that. So, Amber, if she was targeted, and again, we don't know that, but if she were targeted, what would the implications of that be?
All right, so he goes on with this podcast interview, and maybe he was just spitballing there because it is pretty loud on the internet right now. But even Senator Tommy Tuberville appears to have bought into that angle on the story, and immediately people associated with her through her Republican friendships and or relationships were immediately believing that was the case. And if you think about it, it also explains why these left-wing administrators in this very liberal part of the country are fumbling and seeming to be nervous over the eventuality of the truth of this case. It feels like they're hiding something, and maybe their politics are causing this incompetence. But here's Tuberville popping off about it on the Benny Johnson show.
You know anything about what happened at Brown University? How do we fix a situation like this?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Benny. And I just got out of a classified hearing about with all 100 senators about the drug boats that are being blown up in the Caribbean on the Eastern Pacific. And it just shocks me that how the Democrats want to protect more of the drug dealers than they do Americans. Well, it carries over to what we're talking about here. One of the individuals that was killed at Brown University was from Mountain Brook, Alabama, a young lady named Ella Cook. She was a Republican leader in the Republican Party at Brown University. You can't tell me she wasn't targeted. I would hate to miss that opportunity to say that, because the consequences here are very, very fishy. But at the end of the day, I just heard your interview before this. Nobody really pays a price for this. I mean, it's and on campus, and I've been on campuses all my life, 35 years. You know, I was a college football coach, and more of these are continuing to happen. And we're going to have to force the hand of these people that run these universities. For instance, I'm getting ready, hopefully, to be the governor in the state of Alabama. And we're going to have to do something where for every 20 or 30 students on campus that these universities are making tons of money, that we have security for those people. We have to add the number of people. We have to ensure the safety of the young people on these campuses, because they are a target. They are easily accessible. And it just amazes me that, again, we go back to, the Democrats are worried more about the drug dealers than they are about people that are killing people here in our country.
So when you get a case like this, and I've said it over and over with other cases, the less the public knows, there creates a vacuum of information, a void, and into that, things are going to get sucked. And so some of this speculation may just be because of people making deductive reasoning without a whole lot of hard evidence. But if in the back channel, somehow the family's being advised this, as Halpern would say, or as Tuberville seems to believe, they just haven't made it public yet, because that one theory is that they've got a bead on the person, they've got an identity, and they're tightening the circle. Well, then the public is in danger. If this person's on the loose, then the public needs to be advised as to who they are. I don't know everything about murder investigations, clearly, but I've been around it quite a bit in my life. But I do know messaging, and I do know a defensive posture when you see it. Now, there are others online right now saying that there is a student related to the school that suddenly just had all of their information wiped. I don't know who monitors this. The first name is Mustafa. I guess he's Irish, maybe Amish. I don't know where he comes from, but somebody connected there. Just all their social media suddenly just disappeared. It was somebody that's being honed in on. That doesn't mean this is the killer, but oftentimes when the narrative goes against the popular political narrative, the people in charge will make sure they scrub all that before they put the name out. And so we could see a sequence of things happening where we're about to find out an identity of somebody they believe is the shooter sooner rather than later. Well, we hope so. We hope they do get the person. And I'm increasingly concerned they're not going to be able to make the case. And a good defense attorney will use every bit of this. For example, the guy that shot the United Healthcare CEO has been on trial this week in some pretrial stuff in an attempt to get evidence thrown out. For example, they're questioning the officer that searched his backpack when they got him at the McDonald's when they finally caught up to him, whether a search warrant was required in that instance. Well, I mean, probably not, because the public was in danger. This person was already a threat. They had to secure that scene. But still, that's the nitpicky way they get key evidence thrown out. They get the backpack thrown out. I think they get some other key evidence in that trial. In this case, it'll be very, very similar if they catch this person alive. Now, again, the video today was enhanced. They put out a picture of a pudgy dude. They describe as 5'8". AJ, would you call him pudgy? He ain't even fat. He's like in between. No, that's kind of fat, too.
Yeah, fat is fat.
Put it this way. If he was sitting on a plane, I would not want to sit next to him. He's taking up the whole.
Yeah.
He's like a seat and a half. Would you say?
Yeah.
So this guy's loping down the street with this very unusual gait, too. This kind of dorky gait about him, the way he walks. And we're hoping to get an identity or an arrest or something out of these people, if nothing for the family and the folks back home. But what a national story if this guy turns out to be, terror. Now, there are witnesses that are still, from immediately after this happened, where it started telling authorities and local reporters that this person shouted Allahu Akbar. We've heard that before. We heard it in Australia this weekend. And there were several Muslim-related attacks over the course of the weekend. There was this one. There was the Australia beach scene, which, boy, I got a lot to say about that. and we'll get to that eventually. There was the terror cell out in California that purportedly were pro-Palestinian, these anarchist types. They were getting ready to set bombs off all around L.A. and down in New Orleans. That got interdicted. The feds came with a pretty convincing amount of evidence that this was a very by the way, they went by TILF. Did you see this? They had a dumb name. They were deadly serious, but they went by the Turtle Island Liberation Front. That sounds like something from a cartoon series. And TILF, that y'all make fun of that acronym all you want. But they busted them. They were going to set off 4 or 5 bombs and then target some other American cities. So you had simultaneously all these things going off. We had our own soldiers ambushed in Syria. Those bodies are coming home, I think, this afternoon. The president's going to receive those bodies, promising to respond to the operations there. The shooters in Australia had an ISIS flag. Look, sometimes they put the alarm bell off, commit your own personal jihad, find a target, hit the target during their holidays. Have y'all forgotten? Because I had. Do y'all remember what happened at January 1st when this year started? Remember the first thing we dealt with this year? Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't come to me right away.
Came out of New Orleans.
We had that terror attack in New Orleans where the dude just decided to drive through the football crowd and kill all those people. Remember they were trying to say, we don't know why he did it. And he had a big giant ISIS flag on the back of the truck.
Now, wasn't there a Vegas situation too?
Yeah. I read somewhere today, I can't verify this number, but worldwide, since 9/11 in this country, worldwide, there have been 65,000 terror attacks in the name of religion. 2% of those were in the name of Judaism or Christianity or one of the other religions. 98% of those attacks were in the name of Islam. So, yeah, it happens in waves like this, and especially during our holidays with large gatherings. I'd hate to be in charge of security of Times Square in New York City this weekend. We had to walk through there Saturday night to get from where we were eating. We took the Princess Bride. We took her to a show. She wanted to go see a Broadway show, but we decided to walk. No point in driving. You can't. Traffic was locked down. You got to walk everywhere. And so we had to push through that crowd, and I couldn't imagine how crowded it would be. Cold and crowded and stupid, just so stupid, full of tourists and people that don't know where they're going. And it was just, it was like a scrum to get through there. And I can't imagine being in charge of security in times like these in a place like that as New Year's Eve rolls around. So I would say if you are traveling, get your head on a swivel. There are coincidences in the world. There's no doubt. When you start seeing things in patterns like this, it's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. It's not a one-off. It's not just a random coincidence. There's something in this wave that seems very ominous. There was an attempt in Germany this weekend, and we'll find out more about this Brown case here in just a little bit. Let me get Ken from Mountville in here. We'll get a call in. And, yeah, we can do phone calls. I know we're dealing with a lot of headlines, but let's go. Ken, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Leland, I know most people out there that's listening don't realize how tight me you are. So I know they don't know that we exchange Christmas gifts, but if you'll get me the same thing you got me last year, I'll get you the same thing I got you, if that'll be all right with you.
That would be nothing? Is that correct?
Yeah. Right.
Yes, sir.
Good answer.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good answer.
Okay. I want to give you a Pansy Graham alert.
Okay. Pansy Graham is back. What's he doing today?
Oh, Leland, you have got to pull it up on Sean Hannity last night. Lindsey went scorched earth.
On who?
And about the radical Islam situation. And
he's probably just trying to get it. I don't trust him because he's constantly trying to get us in another war. But maybe he was right.
That. Yeah. I tell you what, if he wasn't serious, he needs to be in Hollywood acting in movies because he was very convincing.
Well, he's been talking tough. He's what's known in Washington as a chicken hawk. Instead of a war hawk, he's not going to do the fighting.
That's right.
He had some weekend National Guard job or something a while back, but or Air Force. I think he was Air Force Reserve. He's too old. He's just an
Yeah.
old washed up. Hey, Ken, I got to run. We got AJ. Can we bump this break? And never mind. Thanks, Ken. Go ahead, Ken.
Okay.
I thought we had a live event, and I was going to take AJ to it, and he hung up on me anyway. But tell you what, let's go ahead and do the break then. Trying to keep everything on time. Here, let me switch to Hueytown Pawn, and this doesn't even need a segue. In times like these, you need to be prepared to deal with anything, and that means have a gun. Got to have it with you. It's no good if it's at home, and you need to train. We just saw in Australia where they disarmed those people back in the 90s, promising to provide them protection. Then what happens? They get 2 shooters on a beach, and the cops were frozen in place. There's video of it. And then a brave guy runs out of his fruit stand, or at least that was his business, disarms one of these shooters, gets a gun away from him. He should have double tapped him, but I'm not going to second guess him. He was extraordinarily brave. And then he gets shot. I thought it was the other terrorist that shot him. You know who shot him, AJ? The female cop that didn't shoot the real terrorist.
Mhm.
She shot the one guy that tried to stop the terrorist. You cannot trust that when it comes to your personal safety. Seconds count. Take care of yourself. Look out for craziness in this world, but don't do it willy-nilly. Secure that weapon. Lock it up at night. Train, and you can get a good deal on all of that at Hueytown Pawn, both for hunters and people that want tactical and personal protection. They've got a complete line of everything made by Glock. They've got pre-owned inventory that comes in from time to time because they do have a pawn license. They've got an incredible selection of sound suppression if you're interested in that, especially for your hunting rig. They've got deals going through Christmas on the hunting items and specific guns. They got a Ruger rifle deal going on for the holidays too. Let me pull that up real quick. I want to make sure I get the price right and don't misquote Tommy, but they are ahead of things. I know they're called Hueytown Pawn, but this is way more than a pawn shop. They really developed themselves into a really nice gun counter with a lot of stuff for all your buying and your gift giving this holiday season as well. It really is a good place to shop. By the way, it's a Ruger American Gen 2. All of their Ruger American Gen 2 rifles are now just $539 in all calibers. That's a nice price. That's a good gift for somebody that's a hunter in your life or wants to be. It's Hueytown Pawn on Brook Lane Drive in Hueytown. All right, y'all, 256, Leland Live, Talk 995. Southern Skies Dermatology bringing you the show tonight. That is Dr. Mario and his whole team over there ready to help you get rid of skin cancer. This is a good time of year to go. We're not all out in the sun. Everybody returns to their natural color, and you can really see if you're fair skinned, there's more contrast when something looks ominous. And if you're dark skinned, I'm telling you, we're all vulnerable. You're not immune to it, despite your pigmentation. Some of it's genetic, some of it is sun exposure, some of it's age. It all kind of combines in some cases to be very deadly. And you don't want melanoma. You don't want that battle at all. You don't want it to travel. You don't want to be fighting that fight. And that's why Southern Skies is there. They were set up years ago to just be a skin cancer surgical expert practice. And they created 3 great locations all around to check you. So get in there. It's your responsibility to get yourself there. They can't make you come. But when you get there, they will absolutely give you a look over, take good care of you. And, you know, it's nice to know that you're all clear when you're concerned. It really takes that off your shoulders. And then, of course, there is the catching it early scenario. And I hear from probably more of our audience that goes and wouldn't have gone, and then they find something dangerous that they caught and they can easily treat because they caught it early. Those are the folks I hear from the most. I get these outreaches through social media and other places where people saying, man, I wouldn't have gone. Thank you for the prompt. They found this and that, but I'm all good now. That's an amazing experience. Go get checked. Put it on your list in the new year as we're all trying to get healthy and do right and eat right and act right and get more steps in. Do all your health checkups too. It's southernskiesdermatology.com, southernskiesdermatology.com. Let me depart from all the death and destruction updates to give this. Apparently, they've now caught some more fraud in Minnesota. This doesn't directly involve the Somalis, but more government incompetence. And they have caught the education secretary has put out a letter this afternoon demanding that Tim Walz just step down from his job. Linda McMahon says that they have found millions of money that was siphoned off the federal government by the education system in Minnesota, where they were creating these so-called ghost students. They had fake students, just like they had fake welfare recipients, fake child services, fake meals being delivered. It's like the whole state had this scam to suck money out of Washington when Washington started slinging money and not accounting for it. And Minnesota got in on it. This guy's too incompetent to be the governor or too corrupt, or both. I suggest to you it's both. So the pile on of this goober continues. And should any other day, that'd be a huge story. But we got so much going on. We got to deal with a lot of other things first. Okay, top of the hour, we'll do the 1819 news. Then we'll come back and see if they've started this Los Angeles news conference. If not, we'll grab some phone calls, get you some more headlines, and keep kicking it around here on this Tuesday. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. All right, y'all, 305.